All right, we are live now.
Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode where we talk about career opportunities, about startups, about entrepreneurship, about finance, and all everything with our top-notch industrialist or startup founder who are from varied background and help us to improve our knowledge in varied field about everything. So, today's our guest is Ankit Agarwal, sir, who has been the founder of the Topmate.io, who is the booming. Means the Topmate.io is somewhat which every influencer, with majority of the influencer are posting about it. And so how come? So that's the reason I came across Ankit. In the meanwhile, he is also the founder of Betty Apps and Pregrab. He is also co-founder of Pregrab. Uh, Let me introduce a man who was an IITian to become a startup founder. Let me introduce a man who was an engineer to become a businessman. Give a big round of applause to Ankit.
Yep. Thank you.
So, Ankit, we will move on to a quick Q&A session. Means I will be asking you a few of the questions, and that's how our users will able to know about more about you and also the major chunk of this your startup journey throughout the three businesses you have carried out till date. So,
Definitely. Yes.
the basic question is what was the driving force which made you able to start businesses?
So, first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me to this channel and be a part, and let me share my journey. So, like you mentioned, like the thing that you asked, the motivation was always to kind of build a good company from India. So, this was the vision. So, when I joined my first company after college, I was posted in Middle East and Europe, and I was very much away from the kind of the things that was happening in India. But then when I started talking to my friends, I got to know that a lot of them are starting up companies, or a lot of them are doing something new. So that kind of gave me this kind of an enticement, not motivation, to be very frank. That kind of entices me that okay, why not I also try something like that, and that's the reason why I started Pregrab in the first place. So when Pregrab was not working fine, it didn't turn out to be the way I expected it to be, then it kind of became a motivation for me that next time whenever I do something, I will make it much better compared to what I had done before. And the only idea was, and the motivation was, to build a good company, a world class product from India. So whenever it comes to products, we always talk about US. Whenever it comes to about product based companies, so that was the idea, that I kind of create a company which is built in India, but it is for everyone in the world.
So, what was about the pre-gap and the Betty app which you have founded earlier?
So Pregrab was a second-hand products marketplace. So when we started off, a lot of people, I realized that someone who just passed out from college, someone like us, when we go to a new city, it becomes very difficult for us to buy good products, buy second-hand products, or buy new products like electronics, furniture. It was very difficult for someone like us to buy these things. So that's how we came up with the idea. So we started a company where basically these dealers, these shopkeepers, they can sell second-hand products, but we used to verify them, and we used to kind of give warranty and servicing with them. So something, the kind of experience that you get with a new product, we were giving that kind of an experience. So that was the idea. But then it didn't work out. I worked with a different management consulting firm post that. And during that time, I realized that I learned a lot of things basically. The idea was to learn a lot of things and then move to a new venture. And then we started a company called Betty App. So Betty App was nothing but it's like a funny a social media app where people can take part in challenges, can kind of submit their entries in the form of short videos. There were skill based challenges, there were funny challenges. That was the whole vision of the company. But we couldn't design it the way that we wanted it to be. And then what happened was TikTok left India, and a lot of new companies came with the same kind of concept. So that's the reason why we shut it down, because we were not able to kind of understand the dynamics required to build a social media app. And that's when we decided that we'll start a new company, and that's how Topmate came into picture.
Mm-hmm. So, what was your past journey gone through several years? Means becoming an engineer to a businessman.
I mean, it was amazing. Like I'm guessing, like most of us, engineering just happens because that's how we are told that this is something that we'll have to do. So engineers and doctors, at least in my time, that was
Hmm.
the kind of norm that you will have to go through. Because I was good in maths, I was good in science, so the only option for me was to go for an engineering. So I did engineering, but engineering obviously helps you to kind of open up your mind. So I was always curious. That's the reason why I probably kept asking things, that why something like this happens, why not in a different manner. So I was always curious, and I think the best businessmen or the best people who kind of start a company are inherently curious in nature. So I think curiosity helps you to kind of get into that direction. And I don't like to call myself a businessman. Businessman is a very different term. uh, we are like trying to solve a problem that we see that okay, this can be a good problem to solve, and the companies are usually built on solving a good problem. So that's the next step that happens in your journey. But right now we are just trying to solve two people who started the company. Now there are 13 people who are just trying to solve a problem, trying to make it easier for people to offer their time, to kind of monetize their time. So that is the whole idea. So we are not businessmen yet. I mean, to make something, to make, so this is just a startup. This is just a POC in a manner. Uh, so once we scale this, once we see that okay, a lot of different things are happening within the company, then probably we'll be moving towards being a businessman.
Cool. So, would love to know about all your founding team members, how they're doing, how you are resolving those issues, and everything about your team.
So I mean, everyone is great in the work that they do. There are no issues as such. Obviously, we keep discussing with each other. We keep hanging out with each other. So there's a good synergy between the team. I mean, there are no issues at all within the team. Obviously, because we are in a new area, we are doing something new. So a lot of things keeps happening on a daily basis, which are non-exploratory, which we haven't thought about. So as a team, we kind of work towards them. We kind of take them as a challenge, and we kind of try to solve them as much as possible. But I think the synergy between the team is amazing because everyone believes on the idea. I think that's the first criteria that everyone should work on whenever they are starting a company, that the idea should be very that everyone should have belief on the idea, and that's how they themselves will start going along the journey with you. You don't have to kind of take them with you, they will just start walking towards the same goal with you.
Hmm. So, how did you found your the whole founding team, your co-founders, and everything?
So my co-founder is a friend of mine. So we used to hang out a lot after college. So he's my batchmate. We passed out in the same year, and since then we have been friends, very good friends. So my co-founder is like a friend to me from very long time. So it's not like that I needed to find co-founder. We used to hang out. We had the same vision. We used to keep discussing about different ideas. What are some things that we can do. So that's how it started. In terms of finding the teams, I think we since we worked for a long time in different companies before that, we kind of knew a lot of people. We kind of understand. We already had this network of people who had worked with us in one or the other capacity or in one or the other company. So that's how we kind of just discussed the idea with few of them. We knew that okay, we want this person to join our company. So that's how it started, and then gradually once the startup took off, once the company started getting some traction in the market, a lot of users started coming, then for different roles we kept looking out for people within the network. So that's how. So hiring is a very different ball game. Mostly it happens from your network itself. If you have a good network, you will be able to find good people.
How does discussing about the top mate and everything? How what are the challenges you have faced till date, and how did you resolve each and every one?
So, I mean, there was a lot of challenges when we started off. So, when we started off, we did some research beforehand, obviously, and we wanted people to start using it. But then the first step is always the most difficult because to make people actually use a tool and then ask them to start offering their time is a different ball game. So that was the first challenge, to basically reach out to more and more people, in a short span of time, so that we also understand how people are using it, how influencers are using it, and what is the value that they are deriving out of it. Because this all gives up a lot of learnings, which is something that we can work on, which is something that we can kind of implement to improve the product as a whole. So that was the first challenge. Then the second challenge was to kind of make Topmate present in front of a lot of people, so that everyone gets an opportunity to see it, because that is something that we want to do right now as well. So this is something that we keep working, that once we bring Topmate in front of more and more people, we understand that a lot of people will start using it. But the idea is that it has to start from somewhere. So these are some of the challenges. Then obviously, how do you build a product? What are the some things that you prioritize in kind of building the product is something which is always a challenge, I think, for every company. That what is something that you prioritize, what is something that you don't need right now, but your users keep asking, but that doesn't go with your vision. So kind of create that balance between what you are going to deliver, what people are asking, and what is good for the company is something that you keep continuously facing, in my opinion. But as a team, you kind of take those decisions and then work on them.
Hmm. So, I just wanted to ask that what is the value proposition? Means how did you arrive at the value proposition that you are mentioning on your site?
So
Can you please share?
so basically, first we thought that this is a good problem to solve. First, we kind of identified that this is a problem that is being faced by a lot of people. And so this was the first hypothesis that came when you yourself face these kind of problems. Then as a next step, you kind of validate those hypotheses. So how do you validate is you kind of start talking to probably your friends and family first. You try to explain them the idea, and then you start going out to the potential users that you see, who in future would probably be using your product, would probably using be your solution. And you try to understand from them that whether this problem that I'm talking about, or that the problem that I'm thinking about, is big enough, or is it a problem, actually a problem for them. So that is the next step. So once we validated the idea, that we thought that okay, this is a problem, a lot of people resonated with our idea. So as a next step, what we did was we started building the product in a very simplistic manner. So the product was very basic when we launched in August last year. uh, it was very basic product. And then what happens is that your user will start telling you about some things, that okay, I need this, I need that, probably you can give me this feature or this functionality. And that's how you start developing that value framework as well. So initially your value would be very different, but as and when you keep growing, as and when you keep acquiring more and more users, as and when you keep developing the product in a more robust manner, the value will keep getting enhanced in terms of offering. So this is something that we have learned from the users as well. So there was a basic hypothesis that we started building upon, and then we kept learning from the users to kind of refine the value that we can present to the next set of potential users.
So, wanted to know about that how you are managing your teams in your startup about everything. Means starting from the marketing side, starting from customer acquisition, or all those lines.
So, in terms of team management, I think we have divided roles. Everyone takes care of some piece of the company or some piece of the work as an owner. And everybody, because we are a very small team, so we keep engaging with each other on a very frequent basis, because we sit out of the office itself. So, everyone works out of the office. So, that way, and we're a very small team, so there are no hierarchies, there is no structure. Everyone is kind of holding one or the other piece that they are talking about, that they are caring about. And then obviously, as a vision, as a direction, we keep discussing on a periodic basis that whether we are whatever we are doing is in alignment with the vision that we have, whether we are moving in the right direction. So we have created small milestones that we want to achieve. So whether we are able to achieve that milestone or not, we learn from it. So whether if we are able to achieve that, we learn that what are the good things that we did. If we are not able to achieve one or the other milestone, we learn that what were the things that could have been done better. Maybe some things, maybe the kind of milestone that we thought is not proper or is not the right way to go forward with. So that's how you build a structure when it comes to achieving those milestones, achieving those targets from your side. And then team by itself, by default, if you provide ownership to the people, if you provide freedom to the people, they themselves start owning that piece and they start working on it.
So, looking after to the monetization part of the Topmate. So, how did you appear that? this value proposition will work, and after that, how will you monetize the whole product?
So, in terms of monetization, the basic service is something that we wish to keep free. In future, there are some value-added services that we are working on, which will be optional to for any influencer to use, and for that we'll start charging after some time when we are ready with those value-added services. So consider this as like any other tool, say someone like a Calendly, Notion, Figma, any other tool. For that, you either charge a monthly commission or you can charge a commission on their earnings, something like a Gumroad, something like what Patreon does. So it depends the kind of strategy, the kind of monetization strategy that we come up with in future. But for now, the idea is that that basic functionality by offering your time, earning money through it, is something that we wish to keep free for lifetime. We don't want to kind of charge for that.
Mhm. So, how did you reached out? Matlab, for any startup, it's like how to reach out the first customer. That is the biggest task from starting from zero to one. So, how did you landed from zero to one?
I think we just kept, like I mentioned, we just kept reaching out to potential users manually. So initially, that's the best way because you get to learn a lot from them. So before we even started building the product, in terms of research, we spoke to about 200 to 50 people from different domains, from different expertise area, with different years of experience. So that's how we started off, and then gradually we kept moving towards finding ways to kind of acquire users organically in an automated fashion. But initially, whenever it's a cold start problem, you have to do it manually, and you should do it manually so that you kind of learn from them or their experience as well. Because what happens sometimes is that if you put out the product directly in the market for people to start using it by themselves, you don't know whether the language that you are portraying or whether the communication that you are creating to kind of make them use the product is right or wrong. And this is something that you learn after talking to a lot of potential users. So I think initially it should always be manual effort, and then gradually you identify ways to make it organic.
So, what things you will tell to us means how was your future plans about the Topmate and any other businesses that you are focusing right now?
Obviously, I'm just focusing on Topmate. So that is the whole and soul thing that I'm doing right now, and everyone in the team is like full time working on the same thing. And to be very frank, it's very difficult to work on two or the other ideas. Not everyone is a Elon Musk, uh, because we cannot take inspiration from such kind of people, because we should take inspiration, we should get motivated, but kind of replicating that requires a lot of effort, and I think not everyone is kind of able to do that. So it's always better to focus on one thing and kind of take it to a place where you can leave it and it becomes an automated way that it keeps running. In terms of future plan, we want to expand internationally. We have already acquired users internationally who are using Topmate to kind of interact with their own community, with their own network in US, Europe, Africa, Southeast Asia. So that's the idea, that we keep growing the company in the right manner and we keep acquiring users, because we are essentially a tool, and we are absolutely geography. We are not kind of restricted by our geography in that sense. Anyone can use it. So why not expand it to other geographies and other influencers as well?
So I would love to know more about the experience which you have gathered in your corporate life also, because you was an engineer at some of the companies. And so how did in today's world, if a student is in college third year, he want to do some sort of startup, he will start something, but he don't have some knowledge, or he might be fail in some things. So level of experience you uh what level of experience helped you to achieve these things?
Uh, See, I think working in a company always helps. So I always say that when you start your journey with a corporate company, it always helps, because it kind of helps you to train yourself, understand the value of the processes, and there is a lot of training material that is available in these companies, which kind of helps you to get into that groove of understanding how corporates work, how companies work, what are some of the things that are absolutely required to run a company, what are some of the things that probably are not required and is a good to have thing. So I think you get to learn a lot when you work in these company, and this is what happened with me when I joined Schlumberger. It was an amazing experience for me because I got to work abroad. I've got to meet a lot of people from different geographies, different countries, and the experience was very humbling. At the same time, very a kind of the exposure that I could get was amazing. When it comes to something like this, I think so. For a student, also, you should not be worry about the kind of opportunity you are getting. I think the best way to look at things is that you should be able to, or you should always focus on getting the best out of any opportunity that you get. So be it like working in a company, be it working in a startup, be it working in a corporate, you should just always be very curious about things, and that's the way to kind of learn things.
So, love to know about that. What are the advices you want to give to a person like me who is aging between 18 to 25, who want to start his business? What are the few of the steps that he should take care of, and what are the processes that needs to be reviewed one every time?
So I think when someone is very young and they want to start a company, I think the best way, and it is applicable to everyone. I think with time you learn about these things. So that's the reason maybe experienced folks can run a company better, but it's not the only criteria. I think what needs to happen is that you should be very clear about who your primary user is first of all, what problem you are trying to solve, and you should be very clear that the problem that you are trying to solve or the thing that you are trying to build is something which is a big problem for someone, and they will definitely use it in future. So be very open for the criticism, be very open to kind of while you are talking to your potential users or while you are trying to market your product to a new set of people. When you are discussing your idea, don't be afraid of discussing your idea. Don't think that someone will steal the idea and they will start working on it. It just doesn't happen. A lot of people fear that, but I would say that discuss the idea, learn from it, be very open for the criticism, the negative feedback that you're getting, because that will help you to eventually improve the things that you're making. And then at the same time, whenever you're trying to start a company, it takes time. It is a long journey. It's not something that is going to be easy. So be very prepared mentally for that. Be very focused, be very prepared when you are trying to build something like that, instead of just jumping into it right away. And at the same time, also try to have sufficient money in your bank account, because it's a time consuming and it's a slow process initially, and it will take some time for you to kind of build that properly. So it's always good to have some kind of money in the bank, so that you are able to sustain yourself for a long time without having to worry about that.
So, there is a question from Tanay in the chat section that how do you set the right working environment that brings best out of your employees?
Yeah, I think it's a, how to say, it's a different thing for different companies, for different kind of employees. So you need to understand what is something that motivates your team. And usually in our case, or in my personal opinion also, I feel that giving someone freedom, giving someone authority, ownership of doing something helps them to bring the best out of them, because that way they can experiment on things, they can learn from it. So you should give them enough space, enough freedom to work on some things, enough time to kind of understand some problem, whatever problem that they are trying to solve as a part of the whole journey, and give them some time, give them some freedom to work on it, to kind of refine it, to do experiments on it, because not everything will succeed. So don't be afraid of the failure, and don't try to identify or judge someone just because of a failure. So I think that's the most important piece, and that's how you kind of try to bring the best out of people.
So, other than Topmate, how do you manage your time and the productivity and everything else?
So I think you need to be structured. I think that's the best way to do things. You need to give yourself some time as well. You need to assign some time to your family as well. You need to assign some time to do some leisure activities as well, because that's how you kind of escape from grinding yourself too much. So a lot of people, what they say, that you have to work 24/7. It's not like that. It cannot be like that, because there would be ups and downs. And to cheer yourself up, you need to keep doing these certain activities as well. So you need to be very structured. You need to have some dedicated time for, say, suppose fitness, for some leisure activities, go out, watch for movies, but don't kind of overdo them. And the best way to do things is to create a calendar, for example, or give a dedicated time to certain activities.
So you must have failed some in the other experiment which you have done till date. So how do you manage those failed experiments?
Oh, so we keep failing on a daily basis, and I think you so like I mentioned, curiosity and learning from whatever you do is the best way to manage things. You should never be afraid of doing experiments. You should never be afraid of failures, because 10 things that you do, probably 10 things will fail, and you should be ready with that, because that should not stop you from trying out things. So because what happens is, in all practical cases, if you do 20 things, two or three will definitely work. But you should be very open to learn from the failures, and whatever you do, your focus should be to learn from it and then double down on it, and then kind of make it expand. Also, don't try to do something in a very large manner or in a full-fledged manner. Try to do things in a very simplistic manner. Whenever you're trying to do something, find out a way to do it very simplify in a very simplified manner to start off with. Because whenever an experiment is done, it has to be very simple, it has to be very less effort basis. So you cannot say that I'm running an experiment, I need my tech team to work on 1 month on it, and then we will develop something, and that's an experiment. That's not an experiment, that is a feature. So for to run an experiment, you can break it down to very small pieces and then run an experiment and learn from it. So it cannot be that you will continue to learn something and then that you will build something and it will work right away. It is never going to happen. It never worked with anyone, for that matter. Everyone started with something very small. They learned from it. They realized that, okay, this is working, this is not working. Whatever is not working, I learned from it. I will input those learnings in something that is working. I will double down on it, and I will keep building it till the time I see that, okay, this experiment is working very good.
A next question from Khushi. Sir, what are your views on micromanagement?
Yeah, I think it's not a good thing to do, obviously, and but it obviously it is a very subjective thing when it comes to these kind of things. So micromanagement is not always bad. It depends on the kind of team, the kind of business that you are in. So maybe there are some companies who are absolutely in sales, and probably in sales you need to have this micromanagement. You need to give people some task on a daily basis, and you need to keep understanding or keep asking them what is happening, what is not happening. So it's a very different thing that happens that way. But usually micromanagement kind of brings down the productivity in some case. So there are some mundane tasks, there are some tasks that are very mundane. You don't need some kind of a creativity or thinking in doing those tasks. Probably in those tasks micromanagement works. So for example, if there is someone who is doing marketing or sales in your company, and their only task is that you will give them 100 phone numbers, and they will have to make calls to those 100 phone numbers. Now you don't need a creativity in that, so you can micromanage. You can ask them that how many calls you have taken already. But say suppose you want them to find an innovative way to talk while they are on the call. So you cannot keep micromanaging them that, okay, have you found out a way, have you found out a way. Give them some time, give them some breathing space to kind of identify a creative way to communicate on meetings. So it depends largely on what kind of role that you are looking for, what kind of task that you are giving them.
Uh, Another question from Sambhavi. That she has an idea of software app website, but she don't know the coding. So what should she do to make this idea into a reality?
I think there are a lot of agencies that can help you with that. So if you have an idea that and you don't know coding, so what I would suggest, to create an MVP, to create a POC, you don't need to learn coding, or you don't even need a full time developer. You can probably hire someone as a freelance basis. You can probably work with a small agency. You can hire from that agency, you can onboard one developer, and they will help you to create that in a very simplistic manner. You don't need to create a full fledged software app or website to kind of validate your idea. You can start with a very small thing, and for that you can take help from someone, and then once you see that, okay, this thing is working out, then you can think of onboarding someone full time. So that is what happens. But at the same time, The second aspect is maybe you can look out for a co-founder who knows coding, who's good in tech, because that always helps. Having a co-founder, having a tech co-founder, when your idea is predominantly into tech industry, into product industry, I think it always works.
So how the next question is on the co-founder itself, that how did you found a co-founder if your co-founder is not your friend, just like you? So how will you arrive at your co-founder?
I think finding a co-founder should be a very objective thing. And when it comes to finding a co-founder, you should always focus on someone who has a complementary skills as compared to you. So they should not have the similar skills. So, for example, if both of you are in marketing, and you are trying to run a tech company, and both of you come from a marketing background, it becomes very difficult because you both have the same kind of skill set. Then there are a lot of clashes that happen. There's a lot of this kind of how to say disagreement happens, because you both are are coming inherently from a good space. You want the company to do good, but your working style would be very different. So always look for people who have a complementary skills as compared to you. So say suppose if you're good in business, maybe look for a tech person. If you're good in marketing, maybe look for someone who is good in managing people, managing businesses. If you're good in communication, maybe look for someone who can build the company or who can manage the operations in a very good way. So always look for someone who has a complementary skills compared to you, and that's how you look for a co-founder when it not comes to your friend. Even with friend, I would always suggest that a co-founder is a long time investment or a long time partnership that happens. It's like a marriage, almost like a marriage. And in this case, it is a, because you depend on that person, you depend on your co-founder a lot. So first of all, obviously the best criteria would be that they have a complementary skills and they are your friend. But in the worst case also, always look for people, if you're looking outside, that they should have some skills which are addition to your skills.
So I think we have done most of the questions about the business things. Let me ask just two last question on this. That how do you manage your leisure time other than roaming around Europe and Switzerland?
Oh, I don't travel that often these days. It was when I was working in different companies. So that was the time. But yeah, I mean, to leisure time is something that you do leisure activities, and whatever kind of excites you, whatever kind of helps you to do those leisure activities. So I think that's the best way to do things. So if you like to watch movies. If you like to travel, maybe go for a travel for a few days. If you like to like play, or if you are into sports, maybe do something around that side.
If you can throw some questions on the audience, Abhishek is telling that he is a 22-year-old guy and he has some good, very good startup ideas. So, what course he should do to get this idea into reality? And also, he wants that to get some right approach and right people. How will you arrive? How will he arrive to that right people?
So I think if you are very young, like I previously mentioned, you should have enough bank balance. You should be away from the responsibilities. So first of all, if you have someone, if your family is dependent on you, starting a startup is a very big bet. It's not something that is going to be easy. It's not something that is definitely going to succeed. No one in the world can say you by just listening to an idea that this is going to work, and they will not be able to give you a timeline as well. So it might take you 1 year, it might take you 1 month, it might take you 2 years to kind of set up a company, make it working, because you keep trying certain things. Something will work out, something will not work out. For some it might take a longer time. So you should be away from, or you should not have those direct responsibilities on you, because then it puts a lot of pressure on you. When there is a financial responsibility that is involved, when there is a time constraint that is involved, that only have 3 months. If nothing happens, then you will have to come back. Or there is a financial responsibility that, okay, someone in the family, someone within the family are dependent on you. So I think it should always happen when you have enough freedom in the mind, because you should be away from these kind of things so that your mind can work creatively, because every idea needs creativity to make it big. And for that you need that breathing space, and that's how you can work.
So, there is a question from Abhishek. There is the situation where a startup founder used to uh, make their companies very big and then sell out their companies. So, what's your thought on this situation?
I think it's not a bad thing. Obviously, it depends on the kind of motivation that you have, and it kind of depends on the kind of how to say, the deal that you are getting at that point of time. So it's a very subjective thing actually. We have both the stories when people did not agree to sell and they failed, when people did not agree to sell and they succeed, when people agreed to kind of sell the product, or sell the idea, and then the company became huge, and now they are saying that okay, we could have kept it for some more time. So it's a very subjective thing. It depends on the kind of situation, the mental situation that you have that point of time. If you're getting a very good deal, if you think that okay, with that money you can probably do something good in future, so why not? So it depends completely on the kind of situation that you have at that point of time. Let me give an example of Yahoo, for example, right? So Yahoo, they did not want to sell themselves, and now the valuation decreased, right? So same thing happened with Instagram. So Instagram, they sold probably very early, now they are a very big company. Same happened with WhatsApp, they did not agree to get sold initially, and then it took off, and the eventual acquisition was huge. So every kind of story is there. It is just your conviction, your situation at that point of time.
So, moving on to the last question on a lighter note, you have mentioned that bet 12 cupcakes if you don't like it. So, how many cupcakes you have lost till date?
So, practically speaking, haven't lost any cupcakes. It's just that some people do ask me, even they like it. So I just send them some cupcakes from my side. I just take their address and send it. But practically speaking, everybody has loved the product. Everybody who kind of use the product have loved it till now. Fortunately, we never have to kind of get this kind of a feedback from anyone.
Thank you, thank you. I hope we have covered all the queries of the participants also, and that's how we can wind up. If you, Ankit, if you want to share some last few lines
Yeah.
for the
So
students.
definitely. So for everyone, I would just like to tell that be very curious, whatever you're doing. You have an open mind about things. Don't be afraid of criticism. Just keep asking things. Keep looking out for new things, new ways to do certain things, and don't be kind of bogged down by whatever you think is happening in the world right now, or whatever used to happen is the correct way only. Because if you kind of questions the traditional ways, then only you will be able to find a new and unique way. And that is the biggest opportunity that everyone should see while creating a company, while creating a business, because those are the businesses that see a big opportunity away from the traditional ways. They grew a lot. So I think you should be very very curious. You should be just keep learning, keep trying to learn, keep trying to identify new things. So that's how it is.
Oh, thank you, Ankit, for taking out your time for this session, and I hope that participant would love this session. Also, I would thankful to all the participants who joined this session and make this session a very grateful thing. So I think there are very wonderful lessons by Ankit, and I hope we all would implement it and somewhat we will also be entered into some sort of startup or we will also have our own life very successful one. Thank you,
Yep.
everyone.
Thank
So
you,
I
Jay.
think we
Thanks
can
a lot.
end this
Thank you,
session.
everyone. Yes.
Bye. Have a great day.
Bye bye. You too.